Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. I want you to imagine something for a second. You're wearing your absolute favorite brand new white shirt, and suddenly, splat, a giant blob of dark, sticky mud lands right smack in the middle of it. Panic sets in, right? Well, today we're looking at an awesome piece of source material called The Inward Journey to Divine Purity. It talks about a very similar kind of mess, but a totally different kind of stain. We're talking about a stain on the inside. And more importantly, it lays out exactly how to clean it. So get comfortable, because we're going to walk step by step through what this devotional calls the pathway to purity.
Have you ever tried to clean up a really massive mess all by yourself, but you actually just ended up making it way worse? Like, maybe you tried to wipe up a spilled glass of grape juice with a dry paper towel and you just smeared it everywhere. It's so frustrating. Well, the devotional we're exploring asks a super profound question along those exact lines, but on a much deeper level. Can you wash your own heart? You see, when we do something wrong, it leaves a mark on our conscience. And our natural human reaction is to try and scrub it away ourselves. By just trying harder next time or trying to cover it up. But as we're going to see, this whole DIY cleaning method, it doesn't quite work for the human heart.
The source material actually pulls from a book in the Bible called 1 John, specifically chapter 3, and it asks a very direct question. It asks if a human being can remove even one single stain of sin from their own soul. And the answer the text gives is a big, solid, absolute no way. It describes it as the ultimate unwashable stain. Think of it kind of like trying to erase a permanent marker off a whiteboard using just your thumb. No matter how hard you rub, that stain is staying right there. The text makes it absolutely clear that we simply do not have the right tools or the power to clean our own souls.
Now, to understand why this stain is so stubborn, we really need to understand what this stain actually is. The source defines sin in a very simple way. Sin is the transgression or the breaking of God's law. Essentially, it's just breaking God's rules. Just like your school or your house has rules to keep everyone safe and happy, the text explains that God has moral rules. When we step outside of those boundaries, it's called sin. And according to the devotional, doing that leaves a permanent mark on our record and our heart that our own scrubbing just can't ever get out.
So here is the really crucial point. God gave us His holy law, His moral standard of right and wrong, to act like a giant, perfect mirror. This is actually a really cool concept. The text says that to purify ourselves, we first have to look into this mirror. Now think about it. A mirror can't wash your face, right? If you have dirt on your cheek, the bathroom mirror just shows you the dirt. It doesn't magically reach out and wipe it off. Well, God's law does the exact same thing. It's a perfect standard that simply shows us exactly where the dirt and the stains are on our own hearts.
And this brilliantly illustrates the huge difference between how clean we think we are and the actual messy reality. Often, we walk around thinking, hey, I'm a pretty good person, I'm perfectly clean. But when we look into God's moral standard of righteousness, that perfect mirror, it reveals the absolute truth. It shows us that we are sinners in the light of that law. It highlights every smudge, every selfish thought, and every broken rule. It's a major reality check that proves we've got a mess we just can't clean ourselves.
But wait, the devotional doesn't just leave us stuck looking at a hopeless mess. When you have a mess you can't clean, what do? You call in an expert. The text introduces Jesus as the ultimate rescue mission. It presents him as the one who steps in to do the heavy lifting and the deep cleaning that we are completely powerless to do on our own. It's an incredibly powerful solution to this unwashable stain.
The source quotes 1 John chapter 3, verse 5, which says that Jesus was manifested, which is really just a fancy word for saying he showed up, specifically to take away our sins. And notice that second part carefully. In him is no sin. He is completely 100% clean. Because he has absolutely no stains of his own, the text explains that he is the only one who can wash away ours. The devotional emphasizes that it is strictly through our faith in Jesus Christ that we are actually purified and cleansed.
So, if we put all these pieces together so far, the devotional lays out a beautifully simple pathway to purity. Think of it as an easy 3-step process. Step 1. We look in the mirror of God's law and honestly see the mess we've made. Step 2, we stop trying to scrub it ourselves and instead put our total trust in Jesus Christ to purify us. And step 3, we stay close to him. The text says, "Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not." Now, abiding just means staying super close, like a branch securely attached to a tree, so he can keep our souls safe and clean. Let's move to the next part and see how this builds into an awesome partnership where we get to actually cooperate with God. Once cleansed, we aren't supposed to just sit around doing nothing. The text points out that in every nation, young people and old people alike are called to cooperate with God.
It's a team effort, and the ultimate goal of this teamwork is to actually grow God's mindset right inside of us. It's all about wanting our brains to start thinking the exact way God's brain thinks.
But man, that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? If the only way to be truly pure is to become like-minded with God, how in the world do we actually get to know Him and learn His thoughts? God is huge, and He's invisible, so how do we learn to think like Him? If we're going to swap out our messy, selfish thoughts for His perfect, pure thoughts, we need a really reliable way to download His mindset straight into our own heads.
And the source material provides the answer right here, by studying His Word, which is the Bible. When we read the Bible, we aren't just reading old historical stories. The text explains that we are actually learning how God thinks. It says that unless the mind of God becomes our mind, any effort to fix ourselves is totally useless. By studying, we plant the truth deep down in our hearts. And as that truth grows, the mind of God actually becomes our mind. It is way better and way more effective than any frustrating effort to fix ourselves on our own.
Now, the devotional gives us a really strong warning about a trap a whole lot of people fall into. We can call it the shiny cup trap. The text warns us that just putting an outward gloss on things, like pretending to be super good or just memorizing all the right religious answers, is totally worthless if our hearts haven't actually changed. Just saying you're good doesn't make you good. Faking it definitely doesn't fool the one who is actually doing the cleaning.
Think about it like this. Imagine you are super thirsty, right? And someone hands you a beautifully polished, shiny, sparkling golden cup. It looks totally spotless on the outside, but when you look inside, it is filled to the brim with slimy, yucky, gross mud. Would you drink from it? Ew, no way. The text says that cleaning the outside of a cup will never, ever make the inside pure. Just looking good on the outside or saying the right words means absolutely nothing if your heart is still muddy and messy on the inside.
To really drive this point home, the source material references a very vivid description that Jesus used. He called the people who faked being good whited sepulchres. Now, a sepulcher is basically a tomb where dead bodies are buried. Back in the day, they would paint them bright white so they looked beautiful and fancy on the outside. But inside, they were full of dead bones and corruption. The text points out that if we just fake our purity on the outside, we're honestly no better than those shiny tombs, just full of mess and moral defilement on the inside.
And the reason faking it never works is brilliantly explained in this quote from 1 Chronicles. It basically says that God has ultimate X-ray vision. He judges righteously and looks straight past our fake, shiny outside behavior right down into the absolute core of our hearts. You literally can't trick Him with a polished outside. But the incredible news is that He takes tremendous pleasure when He looks inside and sees genuine honesty and truth. He loves it when we're honest about our mess and sincerely want Him to clean us from the inside out.
So to truly walk this pathway to purity, we have to invite God in to do the work. The devotional says we need to ask Him to do a deep, inside-out scan of our hearts. Since we can't see all of our own hidden muddy spots, and since we definitely can't clean them ourselves anyway, we have to willingly hand over the scrub brush to Him. We have to ask the ultimate cleaner to inspect every single corner of our minds and our motives.
The source text gives us the absolute perfect words to ask for this heart scan, using a really brave prayer from Psalm 139. It basically asks God, "Search me, and know my heart, and see if there be any wicked way in me." This is us giving God full permission to shine His perfect flashlight into our messy cups to reveal anything wicked and to gently lead us onto His perfectly clean, everlasting pathway.
Which brings us to the very end of our journey today, and it leaves us with a highly personal question based on everything we've uncovered. We've learned from the text that we absolutely cannot scrub away our own mistakes. We need to look in the mirror, trust Jesus, and invite Him to change our mindset. So what messy part of your heart will you stop trying to fix yourself, and instead hand over to Jesus to perfectly clean today? Think about it. Let Him do the inside-out cleaning and enjoy the pure, everlasting way. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking that truth.